Welcome to Fertility Fitness Session number 4. My name's Petra Joly. For those of you who are joining me for the first time this week, it's lovely that you can join us. My claim to fame is I guess I was thinking about it today. I would call myself an advocate for greater fertility. Fertility statistics, as you probably know from some of my other sessions, fertility issues or infertility is on the rise. And I'm pretty determined in my lifetime to try and improve those statistics. At the moment, 10 years ago, there were 1 in 6 couples unable to conceive. So I'm hoping that the work I'm doing in my lifetime will actually increase that, because obviously I want the children that I'm creating to be fertile. So this is all part of the plan. So fertility session number 4, we're going to be talking about how movement or activity or exercise, whatever you would like to call it, whatever makes you feel better, can aid your fertility and just your general overall well-being. All right, so if everybody could let me know that I'm the right way tonight, because last week was a bit of a balls up, sorry. Apparently I was sideways, so I've gone back to my computer. So for those of you that kindly told me last week, I really appreciate that. It didn't disturb me at all. It just made the whole night a bit longer. So do you mind just sending a hello or nice to see you or something like that, just to let me know that you can hear me, you can see me, and we're ready to go. That would be great. Even if you want to tell me where you are tonight, because I didn't think to ask that last week. Love to know what you're doing. Looks like things are opening up a little bit, so you might be doing something a little bit more exciting than you have done over the last 5 weeks. Great. I am the right way up and people can hear me. All right. So movement, activity, what does that even mean? So a lot of us associate exercise, movement and everything as being exercise and quite hard and challenging and you to push yourself. I want to change that way of thinking. All right. So any type of movement that gets your blood rate up, your heart rate up, is going to be going under the same category. All right. So what I want to do tonight is give you some really good tips at how to form great habits. All right. A lot of people say to me, oh, I'm not good at habits, or they might, and then we start talking about, whether they drink coffee or whether they, they have sugar, or I go, well, they're all habits. They're just habits that aren't so good for you. What we've got to do is reduce the habits that don't suit you and build the habits that work well for you. So that's really my intention and has been for all the other sessions. So tonight, all about movement and activity. So I'm a little bit more casual tonight because I've been for a jog this afternoon. So I'm feeling ready to go. So what does movement do for you? A lot of you would know this already, all right? You get an endorphin release, and that's our neurotransmitter that actually makes us feel sort of invigorated and excited. And there's also a bit of a dopamine release, which is that reward and a pleasure. So when you finish doing exercise, you actually feel a real high, I guess, a natural high. And that can get quite addictive, all right? So I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But really, when you do get that endorphin kick, it increases your mood. You feel good. And when you feel good, you tend to make better decisions. So you tend to eat better. You also tend to sleep better because you're just a little bit more tired and you've had your high, and then you start to come down. And so then when you sleep better, you wake in the morning feeling better, and the whole day rolls on from there. So it's a really important tool to have in your box when we're talking about fertility. It's just one more thing you can do to help you control your fertility, which is what, again, we talked about last week. So when we want to increase control, we can do that by adding this into the box too, and that's movement, exercise, and doing it consistently. And this is why I want to teach you how to do habits. There's no point telling you to do it. I've got to teach you, get you some tools and skills so that you can do it and continue doing it. Because a lot of people say, oh, I started, but then I fell off the bandwagon. What I'm teaching you tonight is gold. It's going to keep you on the bandwagon and stop beating yourself up. All right. So stay with me if you can. All right. So physiologically, exercise increases the blood flow to the ovaries and the uterus, which is obviously good when we're talking about fertility. It decreases your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and your adrenaline, which is your fight or flight sort of response. All right. And that's really important in this busy world that we live in. It's good to have ways to decrease your stress response. All right. So that's definitely part of what it does. Now, in turn, what it also does is reduces inflammation. So anybody with period pain, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, any of those particular conditions, exercise is definitely an important part. I know for some of you it might be too painful, but we could talk about, that's why I'm talking about movement. It doesn't have to be running or anything quite, jarring. And remember, any stress reduction will increase your fertility because your hypothalamus, your pituitaries and ovaries will work optimally because your adrenal system isn't blocking that system down. So I have gone through that before as well. So it's all starting to tie in together now. So movement, activity, exercise, that's great. And you want to do it. And I'm going to give you the tips to set up a good routine in doing it. But remember, and this is a story, this is a patient of mine, which is just so magic. She's just had her baby a few weeks ago. I welcomed her on my page, my Facebook page. She was your A-type personality. All right. She lived in Sydney. I did conference calls with her. And she did everything in excess, which was great. And it had worked well for her in her life, really. Like her career, she'd done extremely well. She was always very driven, very ambitious. And when I sort of started breaking things down and asking her about her cycle, asking her about her sleep, asking her about exercise, asking her about nutrition, all that, she ate really well. She was very conscious of what she ate. She had green smoothies, like everything was just like, I did this, I do this, I do this, I do this. But her exercise was just phenomenal. Like she was exercising twice a day and just push. And the one thing I had to do with, and, as a result of that, she wasn't actually ovulating at all. So what we had to do was actually put the brakes on her and pull back. So her motto right from that very first consultation was, remember, it's nourish, not punish. Because she thought she was nourishing her body with all this exercise and all this very strict sort of eating that she was doing, when in fact it was having the opposite effect. Her body was just so tense and it was just so overworked. It had emptied the bucket instead of filling the bucket back up. All right. So her cup was empty and she didn't have enough in there to ovulate. All right. And her lining was affected and, all that. So what we want to do is make sure it's a nourishing amount of exercise that benefits us and doesn't work against us. And you probably heard about dancers and some of the, what are they called? They do tumbles and all that sort of stuff. They jump over horse vaults, whatever they're called. Who wants to tell me that? What's that? Oh, gosh, it's in the Olympics. Anyway, but a lot of them don't get their periods at all. Just because there's so much output and not enough input. So we've got to get the balance right. All right. So nourish, not punish. I think that's a good one for all of us to learn. So if you could let me know, those of you who are watching, are you actually exercising at the moment? If you can tell me that. How often you're exercising, like how many times a week? Oh, acrobats. Yes. Thank you. Oh, no, I didn't mean acrobats. No, gymnasts. You're the ones that do the floor routine and stuff. Acrobats maybe as well. So how much exercise do you do in a week? And for how long duration? I want you to really think about this. If you've got a pen and paper, write it down because you can check back on yourself. How much exercise do you do per week? How often, as in how many sessions? How long do you do it for? And how does it make you feel? All right, because if we're getting the balance right, then you should feel a lot better afterwards than before. All right, so that's probably a good way to start and think about it. Right, so let's have a look. What are you doing? Yes, gymnastics. Thank you very much, Jody. Yeah, got it. Thanks, girls. So have a think about that, the exercise, and then we can go back to that. All right, so the more consistent an action is, and this is just how humans and our brains work, the more consistent an action is, the more likely it is to become a habit. And we want to build our good habits and reduce our not so good habits. So the ones that are working well for us. And we are smart people. We know what's good for us and we know what's right. All right. So we need to be doing it consistently. All right. So movement every day is more likely to result in a habit, something that becomes almost automatic and much easier instead of a constant struggle. All right. So that's what we want to achieve. It just becomes part of your everyday. All right. And there's no getting disappointed with yourself or angry with yourself and feeling like you're a failure or anything like that. This is just consistency in the right amount at the right time. All right. So let's make let's give you the tips that I want you to know, all right? I'm not going to go on too long tonight because I know I went way too long last week. All right, number one, set a time, all right? Decide whether you're more likely to stick with it in the morning, lunchtime, or evening, depending on whatever suits around you. A lot of people seem to be exercising at lunchtime at the moment, which is great. But, if we start going back into workplaces, that may not be such an option. But set a time, all right? The other thing I would do, and I'm not sure if it comes under this heading, is do a list of what you want to do. So exercise or movement, it could be, I'll use myself as an example. I've been trying to exercise every single day since we went into lockdown, and I've been alternating it from running, or jogging, I call it because I'm very slow, jogging, yoga, bike riding, and walking. So they're the things I do. And others might do swimming, some might do dancing. There's so many different things that you could do. You've got to find out what floats your boat and mix it up a little bit. All right. So set a time was number one, that it's going to work for you. And if it doesn't work, just change it. Right. Yeah. Number two, send yourself a reminder, which means you'd have to put it in your calendar. And, phones aren't good for everything, but they are definitely good for some things. So set yourself a reminder of when you're going to do it. All right. So just put a repeat reminder, or if you're going to do it different every day, then, that's fine as well. Or if you're going to do it the same every Monday, same every Tuesday, you can set that in your calendar as well. 20 to 30 minutes a day. Well done, Miss Silvana. Just sort of do some skipping. That's a good one. Skipping. Oh my God, that's so hard. Actually, and I've been playing basketball with my son and I'm rubbish at it. But it's good. Makes you laugh, gets your endorphins up. Don't matter. All right. Number three is start small. All right. You don't have to start, like Silvana's saying, she's 20 to 30 minutes a day. There is no way I'll be able to skip for 20 to 30 minutes a day. But maybe even if you are going to do something so sort of stimulating as skipping, maybe just start with 5 minutes and then mix that up with a walk, like a fast walk or something like that. All right. So, even 15 minutes for the first few weeks is probably good because it'll get your confidence up. It'll get your sort of pride in yourself up that you're doing it because it's so doable. And you can do, you can always find 15 minutes, right? So I would probably start, if you haven't already got an exercise program, start with a 15 minutes. If you're the other way, where you're a bit of an over-exerciser, I would probably be pulling that right back, but I'll get into that in a minute. But just start small. But the key is to do it every single day. What I did want to mention to you when I was talking about that nourish, not punish, when I was talking about the patient that just had her baby, in Chinese medicine, they have this is what I was taught at uni, the 7 evils of optimal health. So these are 7 things that you want to be aware of that aren't going to, they're kind of 7 evils of disease, I suppose, or dis-ease as we used to call it. 1,000 skips a day for the month of May. That is a great idea. Thanks, Silvana. And Jody, you like 15 minutes. Great. Start with 15 minutes. As long as you're getting out the door, I don't mind, whatever it takes. So the 7 evils of dis-ease in Chinese medicine, in TCM, is, you'll love this, all right? There's overeating, so it's never good to overeat. And, in Asia, overeating is kind of known as gluttony, and, it's kind of a bit of an evil. Oversleeping, so they always put that down as being lazy. And we are getting a little bit apathetic, I have to say, with lockdown, but it's time to embrace it and get out and move your body. The third of the 7 evils is over worrying, which we'll tend to, that's pretty easy to do. You'll love this one. Number 4, over sexing. Don't you love that? That is so Chinese. I remember learning at uni and I wet myself. So you're not supposed to have intercourse very, too much, because it depletes your jing. I don't know what too much is, though. We did laugh about that. Over exercise is one of those, because it will deplete rather than build you. Over cold, so you should never let yourself get too cold. Like, you should always have jumpers and keep your lower back warm, and always have slippers or socks or something on your feet as well. And over hot, so you should never get into really hot climates or really hot saunas or really hot spas. So they're the 7 evils of Chinese medicine. So they kind of fit in, you know. So I like that. I was meant to tell you that earlier. All right, so we're starting small. Number 4, progress later. So once you're confident and you feel like you've nailed that 15, 20 minutes that you've started with, that's when you'd start building it. Now, I'm talking about fertility, okay? So I don't want you to empty your bucket. I want your bucket to be overflowing. So I don't want you to do more than half an hour a day, but you do need to do it every single day. All right. So that's just a big tip from me after all these years. And I just think half an hour a day is just that perfect balance between not doing too much, not doing too little, and it keeps you going consistently. It creates a habit, which is exactly what we need to do. All right. Does that make sense? So once you've kind of done your first 2 weeks, then you want to progress and get to that half an hour. All right. If it's not working for you, if the timing no longer works for you, obviously keep changing it until it fits into your life as it is, because life changes all the time. Number 5 is make it pleasurable. I know that sounds so silly and so like as if you wouldn't. So as Silvana said earlier, you know, skipping, like so good. If you enjoy skipping, or if you like those little trampoline-y things, you know, some people really dig those. I don't. My pelvic floor doesn't like them at all, but some people do. So think of something that you could do that would be enjoyable, because if you associate a habit with pain or discomfort, you'll shy away from it. And you also won't get that dopamine kind of pleasure release that it would be normally offering you. So you don't want to miss out on that. You don't want to rip yourself off. So make sure it's pleasurable. So that's why I jog. Okay. I can't run because I find it uncomfortable, and I just can only do it for a short space of time. So for me, jogging is enjoyable. I listen to music. I usually take my little dogs with me, so they've only got little legs, so they can only go slow as well. So we're a nice little team. Half an hour, easy. Number 6, lay out your stuff or your gear. You know, so whatever you need for it, have it there ready to go. You don't need any excuses that you couldn't find your shoes, or you couldn't find your skipping rope, or you couldn't find your whatever else you may need, like your little AirPods, whatever they're called. So lay it out. You don't want anything causing friction or creating you from not wanting to go. All right. So the less friction you have to a habit, the more successful it's going to be. All right. So make it fun and easy for yourself. I do notice a lot of people, when they start new habits, they tend to like to buy a new outfit to go with it. I'm fine with that. You know, get online, get some really nice little yoga pants, or, you know, whatever. You deserve it. Just say I said. Number 7, this is pretty simple. Just head out the door. Just go. Don't make sure nothing else distracts you. Obviously, if you've got other things that you have to do at that time, you'll need to maybe reschedule the time. But once you've got the time and you've got your gear on, you just go. Because as soon as you start thinking too much or time goes on, that won't happen. So get out the door. Don't worry about how long you have to go or how hard it'll be or how, you know, cold it'll be. Just do it and dress appropriately. Just get started. And mix it up. Keep it interesting. And that's what I was saying, you know, every day I do something, but I try and do it a little bit different every day, or I go with somebody different, or so just mix it up a little bit as well. So that just keeps you interested and you don't get bored. And it also gives you a chance to recover, because you'll be using different muscles. So I think that's kind of just physiologically makes sense as well. So if you're going for a jog one day or skipping one day, and you'd probably be a little bit sore the next day, I would be thinking. So then the next day might be a good chance to go for a swim if any pools reopen. It's a bit cold in the ocean at the moment, unless maybe you're overseas, and then it wouldn't be. All right, number 9. This is called a relative rest day. So one day a week, you want to have a relative rest day. It's not actually a rest day. You're still going to do 30 minutes of activity, but it's going to be something a little bit more relaxing, I guess. So this might be a good day to do, I don't know, maybe a yoga session, an online yoga session, or maybe just stretching. It could be a strength workout. It could be, I don't know, you might just do a little home workout, just maybe some sit-ups and planks and, just maybe, just nothing too hard, really. So it's like you need to earn it, because once you earn it, you then want that reward again. So make sure it's just one day of the week, all right, so that it's coming and you can go, okay, I'll just get out and do this now, and then on Friday I will have my down day, whatever it means. But you don't want to skip the day completely, because again, that's not going to help with the habit forming, and it will break the pattern, and then you'll get annoyed with yourself, and then the whole thing spirals down. We don't want to do that. You just want to be proud of yourself and feeling good about life. All right, but it is kind of a rest day. All right. So that might be a good day for swimming, when we can go back to swimming, or it might be a leisurely bike ride with your partner, or, just a relaxing kind of day. All right. So that was number 9. Wow. And number 10, which I've already said a few times, is don't skip a day. It's really easy to say, oh, no problem, I've been doing it for 5 days, I'll just skip today. It just doesn't work like that. Our brains don't work like that. All right, because it's your rest day that you should be looking forward to, not a day off. So it'll just make that whole habit formation harder. So the consistency is the key. And I've said that over and over and over. But if you do, don't beat yourself up, don't judge yourself, don't feel bad. Everyone messes up sometimes. We all do. Oh my gosh, so many times. So it's a skill. Habit forming is a skill, like anything. And it's the same as what I said about your eating. It's the same as what I said about sleep. It's the same as what I said about stress reduction. It just takes practice. All right. So just like training your brain, you're going to be training your body, and you just keep doing it, and consistently, and be kind to yourself. All right. It just takes practice. So just, if you miss a day, just keep going the next day, and that's all right. But don't then try and make up for it, all right? Because doing it longer the next day is going to defeat the purpose. The other big thing, so it's probably number 11, is don't compete with others or the clock. So I don't really like fitness challenges. Even though I've called this fertility fitness, it's not a challenge as such. I think it's really important to not compete with others or the clock, just yourself, just doing it. I don't even care how long it's, I don't know if you're competitive. If you're really competitive and you feel it suits you to go, okay, I'm going to do this much in 30 minutes, and then next week I want to be able to do this much in 30 minutes. That's okay, because you're only competing with yourself. But I don't want you to getting on Instagram and seeing somebody going, okay, we're going to do what's that? Oh, I haven't got my words today, but none of those really heavy training kind of fitness competitions. They're not good for you, not good for your brain. They're very hard to do well at, and you might do well at them for a very short space of time, and then you give up because you're like, oh my God, that's just too hard and too unenjoyable. And yet it's not a habit. It's just a competition, and it's just a very short-lived thing to do. All right. So your body, your mind, and fertility will all benefit from doing these habit forming tips. So be kind and proud of yourself. All right. And just get started. It's really not very hard at all. Something is better than nothing 100 times over. All right. So even if you get to the end of the day and you go, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything and it's pouring with rain, and even just, do some jogging on the spot, or go up and down some stairs or something like that, because once you get started, you'll want to still do the same amount. All right. So just do it. I know that's easier said than done, but I think it's just, even if you just think about it, it's for your fertility. All right. It will reduce your stress. It will reduce inflammation in the body. It will help your ovaries work optimally, and it's a really good habit to pass on to your children that you'll be having one day. So you can't really lose, and you are, going to do a great job. All right. So as you know, the key is consistency, and that's going to help you form habits. So have a good night, everybody. I hope that has helped you somewhat. If there's anything you've missed, just watch the replay tomorrow or whatever. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week for male fertility next week, and probably a wrap up of the whole few weeks. All right. Good night.